On a snowy February evening in 1847, in the small town of Milan, Ohio, Thomas Alva Edison was born, the seventh child of Samuel and Nancy Edison. The world he entered was lit by candles, moved by horses, and bound by the limits of human muscle. Yet from his earliest days, Al seemed destined to unravel its mysteries. His wide, curious eyes followed the flicker of firelight. His tiny hands reached for the world, tugging at its secrets. Why did the stars glow? How did the river hum? His mother, a former schoolteacher with a mind as sharp as a tack, saw his potential when others dismissed him. At 8, his schoolteacher labeled him addled, too restless for rote lessons. Furious, Nancy pulled him from school, declaring, "My son is no fool." In their modest home, she handed him R.G. Parker's School of Natural Philosophy, a book bursting with experiments. It was a match to kindling. The Edison basement became Al's first laboratory, a dim, cluttered space where he mixed chemicals, sparked wires, and burned his fingers more than once. At 9, he built a telegraph from scrap, tapping out messages to imaginary friends. His questions were endless, his energy boundless. By 12, necessity pushed him to work. The Civil War loomed, and his father's grain business faltered. Al took a job selling newspapers and candy on the Grand Trunk Railroad, hopping trains between Port Huron and Detroit. Life on the rails was gritty, but it sharpened his hustle. He set up a makeshift printing press in a baggage car, churning out the Weekly Herald, a penny paper for passengers. At 14, he saved a stationmaster's son from an oncoming train in Mount Clemens, Michigan. The grateful father, J.U. Mackenzie, taught him telegraphy, a skill that, in the 1860s, was as revolutionary as coding is today. Telegraphy opened a new world. Edison's fingers danced over keys, decoding Morse code with a musician's precision. By 16, he was a roving telegrapher, drifting through Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky, his suitcase stuffed with wires and dreams. The telegraph office was his classroom, its clicks and clacks a language of possibility. In 1868, at 20, he patented his first invention, an electric vote recording machine for Congress. It was a marvel, tallying votes instantly, but it flopped. Politicians preferred slow counts for backroom deals. The failure stung, but Edison learned a brutal truth: inventions must meet a need. "Never invent something nobody wants," he later wrote. Undeterred, he moved to New York in 1869, broke but relentless. Fixing a broken stock ticker at a brokerage firm earned him a job and, soon, a breakthrough. His improved ticker, sold to Western Union for $40,000, was a fortune, over $800,000 today. At 23, he built his first laboratory in Newark, New Jersey, hiring a small crew to turn ideas into reality. In 1876, Edison moved to Menlo Park, a sleepy hamlet 25 miles from New York. His new laboratory, funded by ticker profits, was a wonder, a 2-story building with workshops, a library, and a machine shop. Here he became the Wizard of Menlo Park. In 1877, while tinkering with a telephone transmitter, he stumbled on the phonograph. Scratching a needle on tinfoil wrapped around a cylinder, he shouted, "Mary had a little lamb." When the machine played it back, his assistants froze. Sound, captured like a butterfly, was alive. The New York Times called it a voice from the machine, and President Rutherford B. Hayes summoned him to the White House for a midnight demonstration. At 30, Edison was a national hero, his name synonymous with genius. But another force was stirring in America, one that would shape his later years: spiritualism. Born in 1848, when the Fox sisters claimed spirits wrapped messages in their Hydesville, New York home, spiritualism exploded after the Civil War. The war's 600,000 deaths left families shattered, yearning for lost sons and husbands. By the 1870s, over 8 million Americans, per historian Anne Braude, attended seances where mediums summoned spirits with knocks, whispers, or Ouija boards. Edison, a self-proclaimed agnostic, dismissed mediums as tricksters in an 1875 letter to a friend. Yet in 1878, he met members of the Theosophical Society, led by Madame Helena Blavatsky. Their talk of reincarnation, cosmic energies, and unseen worlds wasn't science, but it intrigued him. Over dinner in New York, Blavatsky described etheric vibrations linking the living and dead. Edison, puffing a cigar, said, "If there's truth to it, I'll find it with wires, not prayers." This moment, subtle but pivotal, planted a seed. Could technology pierce the veil of death? By the 1880s, Thomas Edison was a titan. His Menlo Park laboratory, now a sprawling complex, hummed with activity. Teams of engineers, his muckers, worked under his relentless gaze, testing ideas at a feverish pace. Edison slept little, often napping on a cot amid the clatter of machines. His output was staggering. Over 400 patents by 1880, each a step toward modernity. In 1879, after testing 6,000 materials, he perfected the incandescent light bulb. A carbonized bamboo filament glowed for 14 hours in a vacuum-sealed glass, a miracle unveiled on New Year's Eve. Menlo Park blazed, drawing thousands who stared, awestruck as night turned to day. The Chicago Tribune declared, "Edison has conquered night." By 1882, his Pearl Street station in New York powered 400 lamps, launching the electric age. Cities sparkled, homes glowed. The world was his. Edison's phonograph evolved too. Wax cylinders replaced tinfoil, capturing clearer voices. In 1888, he patented the kinetoscope, a peephole viewer showing brief films. Crowds lined up at parlors to watch dancers or boxers flicker to life. His innovations weren't just machines, they were magic, reshaping how people lived, worked, and dreamed. But genius had a shadow: Nikola Tesla. The Serbian engineer joined Edison's team in 1884, a lanky visionary with a mind as sharp as Edison's. Their clash was inevitable. Edison championed direct current DC, safe but limited to short distances. Tesla pushed alternating current AC, which could travel miles. When Tesla's AC proved superior, Edison dug in, launching the war of currents. The feud was brutal. Edison staged public electrocutions, using AC to kill stray dogs, horses, and infamously, Topsy the elephant in 1903, claiming it was dangerous. Tesla, backed by George Westinghouse, won when AC powered the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, lighting 200,000 bulbs. Edison's defeat stung, but it fueled his drive to outshine Tesla. In 1901, Tesla claimed his Colorado Springs Spirit radio detected strange signals, perhaps extraterrestrial. Edison, in a letter to a colleague, wrote, "Tesla's chasing ghosts, but his waves are real. I'll use them better." The early 20th century was a time of boundless possibility. Marconi's radio sent voices across oceans. Röntgen's X-rays revealed bones. Einstein's 1905 relativity theory bent time and space. If science could tame the invisible, why not the afterlife? World War I, ending in 1918, left 10 million dead and a world in mourning. The 1918 flu pandemic added 50 million more, including 675,000 Americans. Spiritualism surged, with mediums like Eusapia Palladino drawing crowds. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of Sherlock Holmes, toured America, preaching spirit communication. Edison, now 71, saw a gap. His phonograph had captured voices, his bulb had banished darkness. Could a new device capture the dead? His philosophy, life as life units, indestructible particles persisting after death, echoed physicist Oliver Lodge's work on the ether. In a 1910 New York Times interview, Edison said, "Life doesn't vanish, it transforms. I'll build a tool to measure that." His laboratory in West Orange, New Jersey, a fortress of brick and ambition, became the stage for his boldest dream. October 1920. America was raw, scarred by war and plague. Families clutched Ouija boards, hoping for a whisper from lost sons, daughters, or spouses. Into this grief-soaked world, Edison dropped a bombshell. In an interview with the American magazine, he told journalist B.C. Forbes, "I have been at work for some time, building an apparatus to see if it is possible for personalities which have left this earth to communicate with us." The words hit like lightning. Newspapers screamed, "Edison to talk with spirits." The New York Herald ran a cartoon of Edison with a ghostly phone, spirits queuing to chat. Over 600 letters flooded the magazine, some from widows offering to test the device, others from tinkerers claiming they'd built one first. Edison was no seance enthusiast. He loathed mediums, writing in his diary, "Their tricks prey on the broken-hearted." Science owes them nothing. His approach was cold, methodical. If spirits existed, they were physical, perhaps life units lingering in the ether, a concept tied to Einstein's energy conservation and Lodge's electromagnetic theories. His device, he claimed, would amplify their faint signals, like a phonograph capturing a sigh. He described a valve so sensitive it could detect a feather's fall, though he shared no schematics. The Scientific American speculated it might use photoelectric cells, which Edison had mastered for sound films. These cells, converting light to electricity, were cutting edge, used in early talkies, like The Jazz Singer, 1927. The public was electrified. Spiritualists like Conan Doyle hailed Edison's effort, seeing it as validation. Skeptics, including magician Harry Houdini, smelled a stunt. At 73, Edison was hard of hearing, his world muffled. Biographer Neil Baldwin suggests personal loss drove him: his mother's death in 1871, his first wife Mary's in 1884. Others, like historian David Lindsay, argue he craved headlines, his ego as bright as his bulbs. Yet his private notes, later published in France, reveal a man grappling with the cosmos. Sketches of etheric detectors and musings on vibratory entities fill pages, blending physics with metaphysics. The Spirit Phone wasn't just a device, it was a defiance of death, a promise to measure the unmeasurable. The announcement sparked a frenzy. Spiritualist journals like Light published editorials urging Edison to share his progress. Inventors sent him blueprints. Most were crackpot, but a few, like a psychic radio from Chicago, intrigued him. He corresponded briefly with physicist William Crookes, whose 1870s experiments with radiant matter hinted at unseen forces. Edison's laboratory buzzed, his muckers testing valves, coils, and cells. But doubts lingered. Was he serious or playing the press? His love of spectacle, staging phonograph demos, lighting city blocks, was well known. Yet the grief of 1920, America was real, and Edison, ever the opportunist, saw a chance to marry science with hope. Winter 1920. A storm howls outside Edison's Menlo Park laboratory, its windows rattling like restless spirits. Inside, a strange group gathers, engineers in oil-stained aprons, a few trusted muckers, and unexpectedly, spiritualists in flowing robes. The air crackles with tension. Edison, his white hair wild under a single bulb, unveils a device, a projector casting a thin beam of light onto a photoelectric cell wired to a sensitive meter. The setup is elegant yet daring. If spirits exist as life units, he theorizes, they might disrupt the beam, triggering the meter. It's a blend of his expertise: photoelectric cells from sound films, amplifiers from phonographs. The spiritualists, clutching rosaries and incense, chant softly, summoning spirits. Edison watches, his face a mask of curiosity and skepticism. His muckers, loyal but puzzled, monitor the meter hours drag on. The needle doesn't flinch. The mediums, exhausted, admit defeat. No spirits come. This scene, detailed in a 1933 Modern Mechanics article, lacks named witnesses, casting doubt. Was it real, or a tale spun by a nostalgic reporter? As a scientist, I'm torn. Photoelectric cells were advanced, used in 1920s tech like fax machines. If spirits could nudge matter, even faintly, such a device might detect them. Edison's notes mention etheric disturbances, echoing physicist Max Planck's work on quantum energy. If the experiment happened, it failed. Or did it? Edison thrived on failure, testing 10,000 filaments for his bulb. A null result might have spurred him to refine the device, but no blueprints survive, only vague diary entries. Did he hide his work, fearing ridicule? The 1920s were unkind to fringe science. Houdini's exposés of mediums made headlines. Or was the Spirit Phone a thought experiment, a spark never meant to ignite? The Modern Mechanics account describes a second test, with mediums replaced by scientists, but the meter stayed silent. Edison, ever pragmatic, may have shelved the project, focusing on batteries and films. Yet the experiment's allure persists. It captures Edison at his boldest, blending skepticism with wonder. The spiritualist's presence, if true, shows his willingness to test all angles, even those he mocked. His laboratory, a fortress of reason, became a stage for the uncanny. The scene, light-slicing darkness, a meter poised for a miracle, feels cinematic, a moment where science and mystery collided. In October 1926, Edison sat with the New York Times, his eyes twinkling as he called the Spirit Phone a joke. "I told Forbes that to warm him up on a cold day," he said, chuckling. "I had nothing real to share." The public reeled. Had the wizard tricked them? Spiritualists who'd pinned hopes on him felt betrayed. Skeptics like Houdini nodded smugly. The Boston Globe ran a headline, "Edison says Spirit Phone was jest," and the story faded. But his diary, published in France in 1949 as Diary and Sundry Observations, tells a different tale. A chapter, The Realms Beyond, omitted from English editions, details his life units theory, particles from cosmic origins persisting after death. He wrote, "If we reach the dead, it will be with instruments, not seances." Why the retraction? The 1920s were a skeptical age. Houdini's 1924 book, A Magician Among the Spirits, exposed mediums as frauds. The Scientific American offered $5,000 for proof of psychic phenomena. No one claimed it. Edison, protective of his legacy, may have backpedaled to avoid being labeled a crank. At 79, with rivals like Tesla still looming, he couldn't risk ridicule. Yet his pact with engineer William Dinwiddie, who died in 1920, hints at belief. They vowed the first to die would try to contact the other. Edison's silence on results, Dinwiddie never called, suggests doubt, or perhaps a private failure. The retraction didn't erase the Spirit Phone's impact. It sparked debates, inspired fiction, and kept Edison's name alive as a man who dared the impossible. His 1920 announcement tapped a raw nerve, the universal ache to hear a lost voice. Letters to the American magazine, from mothers, widowers, soldiers, show a nation desperate for hope. Edison's willingness to explore the afterlife even briefly humanized him. He wasn't just a machine, he was a man wrestling with mortality, his own and the world's. The Spirit Phone's legacy lies in its ambition. It showed science at its boldest, unafraid to chase shadows. Edison's 1,093 patents, bulbs, phonographs, films, reshaped life, but his strangest idea captures our hearts. It's a reminder that even giants stumble, and those stumbles spark progress. The New York Times later wrote, "Edison's Spirit Phone failed, but his spirit never did." Edison died on October 18, 1931, at 84, in his West Orange home. No Spirit Phone was found among his papers, no prototype in his lab. In 1941, a group of engineers, led by J. Gilbert Wright, claimed to have built one, guided by Edison's spirit during a séance. Their device, a box of coils and valves, failed, producing only static. No blueprints exist, only hints in Edison's diaries, and a 1920 patent sketch for an etheric detector never filed. Why did the Spirit Phone vanish? The 1930s saw spiritualism wane. Radio and television captivated America, turning attention from ghosts to Hollywood. Mediums were mocked, Houdini's exposés lingered. Science shifted to quantum mechanics, relativity, and nuclear physics, leaving the ether behind. The Spirit Phone's cultural footprint endures, though. It inspired ghost hunting tech, EMF meters, EVP recorders used by modern paranormal investigators. Shows like Ghost Hunters owe a debt to Edison's dream. It reflected a nation's grief, a collective cry after war and plague. The Washington Post in 1931 wrote, "Edison's Spirit Phone was his heart, not his hands, a wish to heal a broken world." As a scientist, I see it as his boldest failure, a reminder that science thrives on questions, not just answers. His 1,093 patents changed the world, but the Spirit Phone captures our imagination because it dared to ask, what lies beyond? The lack of evidence frustrates historians. Did Edison destroy his notes, fearing ridicule? His laboratory fire in 1914, which destroyed countless records, may hold the answer. Or was the Spirit Phone a publicity stunt, as some claim? His love of headlines, staging bulb demos, phonograph concerts, lends weight to this. Yet his private musings, his pact with Dinwiddie, suggest a genuine quest. The truth, like a spirit, remains elusive. Edison's Spirit Phone never spoke, but its silence roars. It teaches us that science isn't just about success, it's about daring to ask, what if? Edison, flawed yet visionary, embodied this. His ruthless tactics, sabotaging Tesla, exploiting muckers, mar his legacy, but his curiosity redeems him. His 1920 announcement tapped a universal longing to hear a loved one's voice again. That raw emotion makes this story timeless, a bridge between 1920s grief and our own. In 2025, as AI and quantum computing push new frontiers, the Spirit Phone reminds us to stay curious. What other forgotten ideas wait in history's shadows? Edison's failures, his vote recorder, his concrete houses, paved the way for triumphs. His Spirit Phone, though unrealized, sparked a question that lingers. Can science reach beyond? At Obscure Minds, we chase these stories, unearthing geniuses lost to time. Join us, like, share, and subscribe to keep the spark alive. Let's honor Edison's dream by asking our own big questions, chasing answers, no matter how wild. The Spirit Phone is more than a device, it's a symbol of human hope. Edison's 1,093 patents lit the world, but his strangest idea lights our hearts. It's a call to explore, to dream, to never stop wondering. As he wrote in 1920, the universe is full of secrets. I'll find a few before I'm done. Let's find ours together with Obscure Minds.